This episode is sponsored by Medicine-Based Beauty, where beauty is backed by science. Ladies of CNY, what are your plans for Galentine's Day? Get ready to celebrate sisterhood and join us for an unforgettable night of fun, friendship, and fabulousness on Thursday, February 13th. Expect delicious food, a bouquet bar, astrology readings, massages, jewelry, and so much more. As a special thank you to our listeners, use code Cultivate CNY at checkout for $5 off your ticket. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to celebrate Galentine's Day with your besties. Visit cnywomen'snetwork.com/events to grab your tickets and get ready for the best girls' night ever. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and I am so excited for you guys to listen to this week's conversation. This week's guest is the Director of Marketing at Feldmeier Equipment in Myers Creek Brewery and has over 15 years of experience in marketing and PR in industries like hospitality, food and beverage, and manufacturing. We're going to keep it short and sweet for you guys, so without further ado, let's welcome Crystal Paolelli to Cultivate CNY. Crystal Paolelli, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm really excited for our conversation selfishly because I am super, super interested in all of the things you specialize in. You really do run the whole gamut when it comes to marketing and PR. So quickly, share with the audience how you got to the position you're in today.
So, I went to SUNY Plattsburgh, uh, majored in marketing and communications, pretty standard. Graduated in the middle of a recession, didn't know what I wanted to do, but, uh, you know, luckily found myself at Turning Stone as my first job straight out of college and started as a marketing traffic assistant where I was bringing files from one office to another and helping the graphic design team with their day-to-day operations, project management. I had zero graphic design know-how, never heard of Adobe Suite, so I was very new, but I just tried to learn everything I could. And then very lucky in my career at Turning Stone to sort of work my way through the marketing track in newer positions. So the marketing traffic assistant was a new position to the team. Then I moved into database marketing for a couple years, and from there moved into project management marketing and created a new team for that facility as they were and still are rapidly growing. So I created the project management team for marketing specifically, and that was sort of my look into how all these special projects were developing from brainstorm to development from and working with other departments in the facility like IT and finance and all these other departments that had very nuanced interests in what the project really was going to be. So that was my last 3-4 years there. As gaming was legalized in New York State, Del Lago Resort and Casino came on site in the Finger Lakes, and I did take the plunge to go there as their director of advertising, and that was definitely a throw into the fire type position. But I learned a lot, just like at Turning Stone. You learn a lot very quickly. You learn on your feet. You learn to trust your coworkers. You learn to trust the process, and very hard work, very chaotic, but I wouldn't trade it for a second. So at Stellago, I started off as director of advertising and then moved into director of marketing position towards the end. Towards the end of my career there, the opportunity with Feldmeier and Myers Creek Brewing Company popped up, which is much closer to home, in my backyard, basically. And that opportunity really intrigued me. So I am now their director of marketing. So that's kind of my very strange path forward to where I am today.
Yeah, and Feldmeier and Myers Brewing are two totally different types of businesses.
Very different type businesses. Feldmeier being the largest stainless steel vessel manufacturer in the Western Hemisphere, has a 72-year history, and in Syracuse community, still family owned and operated. The third generation's currently running it. the same family that owns Feldmeier started Myers Creek Brewing Company in 2020. So they sort of happened into that business and they took it, ran with it, and have grown that business exponentially over the last 4 years. With a lot more growth on the horizon. So, yes, one is hospitality and one is manufacturing, while they have relationships in there somewhere because you can't get the beer without the product that Feldmeier produces. But very different markets, very different priorities, very different staples day to day. But when it comes down to it, they're still both family owned and operated right in Syracuse, and they have very similar missions overall.
How did they decide that they wanted to get into the brewing, the
Yeah,
beer hospitality industry?
the opportunity presented themselves as a location was available in Cazenovia, New York. This brewery that is no longer there, and so they had the opportunity to buy into it. And the family said, "Hey, let's see what we have." They had great partners in the brewing space already through other relationships, so they brought on some team members that were willing to take the gamble and try it out in the beginning of a pandemic. So, yeah, the family, they're a very adventurous family and they love to try new things, broaden their horizons, and they definitely never walk away from a challenge.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I'm sure you've learned a lot just from working for people like that. I mean, you've got to be a risk taker.
Yeah, to say I work for Trailblazers is an understatement. They are always looking towards what the next big thing is, what is the next thing that's going to kind of take not only the region, but just in general by storm. So, like right now, for example, we are part of SU Football NIL, which works very closely with Coach Fran Brown. Our CEO and president, Colby Clark, saw the vision of Coach Fran when he first stepped off the plane to Syracuse, and he has backed him the entire way, financially supportive in events and recruitment and everything else. And the proof is in the pudding now, and really showing that this NIL movement is taking over and it's going to become the future of college sports. And so it's just another example of something else that we have a part in that, somebody might have looked at a year and a half ago and said, I don't know about this. Why would we get involved? And, here we are and, looking towards another great season coming up here with some more recruitment. So it's just examples like that the Feldmeier family really um, loves to be at the ground level of and start. And so, I think Myers Creek was part of that as well.
And they've done an incredible job. I mean,
Absolutely.
I absolutely love going out to the Cazenovia location.
Yes. They put a lot of time, care, investment into that facility and really made it just this amazing venue. I mean, the team is booking weddings and events every day. And it's just, people don't think much of that region in the sense of come out, spend a day. There's tons to do because Cazenovia is such a small town, but it offers way more than most people realize. And, the town has been a great partner of ours. There's a new group that's been up and coming called Cas Life. They're a part of the chamber, and they've really put huge strides towards working with the local businesses to also just increase tourism. So, it's been great to see how the town and the people just really are very passionate about everything. And again, luckily they found that spot in Cazenovia and have grown with the town as well as they really try to bring it on the map a little bit
Yeah,
bigger.
I definitely think Cazenovia is the perfect location for
Right.
that, of course. I mean,
Right.
such a beautiful piece of property.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Cazenovia is, I'm in Cazenovia a lot because I live in Morrisville.
Yeah,
So
okay.
Cazenovia
Right down the
is
road.
the closest town, even
Yeah.
though it is a small town,
Yeah.
but it's good enough for me
Right.
coming from Morrisville.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, strategic partnerships because obviously they understand the value of strategic partnerships, but so do you. I mean, having experience in the hospitality industry and planning so many really cool experiential events. What's your approach to strategic partnerships and when do you know it's time to create one?
Yeah, I think as we look, at a calendar, we're planning, we're looking towards, I my thing is, holidays are pretty much on the same day every year. So Let's look ahead and see what we can really do. And then from a hospitality standpoint, you nailed it. Experience is what people want these days. They don't want to just go out to dinner, have dinner, and go home. They want to feel the atmosphere. They want reasons to go out. They want a fun reason to go out. So we need, you need to offer something to that effect. And sometimes you should be looking towards partners in the community. Our last Brewers dinner, for example, at Myers Creek, we were lucky that the Curd Nerd and Sweet on Chocolate joined us and created this amazing menu. Um, Sweet on Chocolate, the owner Adam created some specific chocolates just for us as a takeaway, and guests had an amazing experience. Great food, great cheese courses, which I would never pass up a cheese course, and then custom locally made chocolates from a great chocolatier. And we've also partnered with H. Gray in Cazenovia, and it's a no brainer, honestly. Businesses can thrive on their own, no problem. But who you partner with really says a lot about your business, how you operate, and what you believe in, and what your guests can expect when they come. So creating those partnerships in the community, depending on the businesses and depending on the events, I think are not only important but a no-brainer, and should be kind of part of your daily, weekly planning as you look towards different things. So yeah, anytime we can partner with anyone, we really look towards that. And I bring that from my casino days even to where we had much bigger partnerships in other cases with cruise lines and um, destination vacationing. But the guests looked towards those things as an amenity and as a benefit to coming to that location. Um, as hey, this, if I come here, this is going to be a big piece of me visiting and being a patron here.
Are you ready to take your career, connections, and professional growth to the next level? The 2025 CNY Women's Summit is just around the corner on March 7th, and this is your chance to be a part of an empowering day filled with inspiring speakers, interactive workshops, and meaningful networking opportunities. Early bird tickets have already sold out, but don't worry, standard tickets are still available. But here's the thing, they're going fast, and you don't want to miss out. So, as a thank you for being a part of our wonderful podcast community, we're offering you $10 off your ticket when you use the code Cultivate CNY at checkout. Don't wait. Head over to cnywomensnetwork.com/summit to grab your ticket today. And let's make 2025 the year of bold moves and big wins. So, how do you suggest if someone does want to go after maybe a big partnership, how do you think they should approach it? What's the first step?
Really have a plan in place. Have, what is the goal? Why do you want this partnership? What is it going to benefit both parties? How is it going to benefit not only yourself but the partner coming in? Um, do you have a budget in mind? Do you have what are the assets that you are going to need? What is your timeline? Having a really good plan in place is going to make it a lot easier to have those conversations once you start trying to look out for who those partners should or could be, because they're going to ask those questions off the bat. So be prepared, be ready, and really understand why you want this partnership. What is it going to do for everybody, down to the person attending the event or using that partnership to their own personal gain as a guest? And because without that, it's just going to be a conversation and a waste of time. So the benefits on both sides is crucial.
I think a lot of people might forget about that part. It's also a lot more successful if you can probably go into the conversation, say, hey, I really
Absolutely.
want to do this for you.
Yeah. And
Can we have a conversation?
exactly. It doesn't even have to be anything super formal or super, uh, over the top. It's just you want to walk in feeling confident, speaking confidently towards the partnership, and really selling that it's a necessity for both sides, and that if either party walks away, it's not going to help. And it's, you know, you really want to give that feeling of partnering together is going to just be a no brainer.
That's a really good point too, is like if we walk away from this, it's not going to benefit us. So kind of making the partnership seem like there's nothing to do but benefit here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have been involved in a lot of big projects all happening at once, right? So, what has been your approach to, leading teams in such a fast-paced environment?
Organization. I know it sounds kind of, you know, well, duh, but staying organized is really half the battle. I'm lucky that I have great people working around me that work fast. They're all very passionate. They're great at their jobs, which makes it a lot easier. So that's also very helpful. But yeah, managing a lot of larger projects all moving at the same time, you have to stay organized. You have to just stay diligent. You have to constantly follow up and just don't assume anything is complete if you think it is. It hopefully is, but don't assume. And take diligent notes. It's really that simple. I mean, I wish there was some magic formula, but staying organized is just what you need.
And what about communication? For example, I have only just started to lead people within the past year, and I find myself, right up front, I realized, oh, I need to be a lot more organized because you have to be way more organized than you were before
Right. Right.
because now you have to prepare for things and relay information, and it's a whole process.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the hardest parts is communicating effectively, authentically, and understanding how to get buy-in from people.
Yeah, I think making sure I always like to make sure my teams understand why we're doing what we're doing. Um, the reason behind it, not just a directive. I like to make sure it takes a little more time to communicate that and have the conversations. Um, I have lots of check-in meetings with my team um every week, make sure that we're starting the week off right with catching up on all the projects. What do they need from me? What do I need from them? What do we need from other folks? And just making sure that it's we've covered all of our bases, even if it's ad nauseum a little. It's really important to have those conversations because even as organized as you are, uh, you might have missed something. You might have missed an email or a text or some piece of communication. So without double checking or checking in with everybody and communicating things in a very clear, concise way, um, you can still drop the ball some places. I like to have everything kind of all in one spot too, easy access for of communication, especially with hospitality. You have a lot of people working very different shifts. Not all of them can be on a computer all day and they're not on email all day. So communicating differently for each individual that you're working with is also very crucial to understand their communication style and what's going to make the most sense for them. Sometimes it's in person, sometimes it is email, sometimes it's having documentation available to them in spots that are going to be the most visible to them. Working with a lot of culinary staff, having things posted so that when they're walking through the kitchen, they can reference it when they have a few seconds. Um, Sometimes that's the best way. So, understanding people's communication styles and availability to communication is huge. I think a lot of folks get really comfortable with just shooting off emails and thinking that's it, we're all set. But sometimes that's step one. You shoot off the email. Sometimes you need to do a few follow ups in different ways. They might have questions or clarification points. So yeah, that's understanding who you're working with and how best to communicate with them is something that, you learn as you go and is huge, which people sometimes don't even think about.
That's huge. And for me, I feel like I have not communicated enough. And now I'm realizing, oh, I need to be a lot more thorough and diligent. And a lot of that really is doing those consistent check-ins, just scheduling that time.
Even, sometimes if we don't have a lot of time, sometimes 10 minutes, just quick conversation can make a world of difference for some folks.
So you worked for this, huge conglomerate, Turning Stone, went to Del Lago, still very big company, but now you work in a family business, two of them. And how do you think working in a family business has shaped your perspective around, long-term brand growth and legacy building?
Yeah. And funny enough, Del Lago was fairly small family business as well, which I don't think people realize in the beginning. It was owned by or started by Will Murray out of Rochester, which is family owned and operated by the Wilmot family, and then also uh, at the time, it was called J&B Gaming. Now they're Peninsula Pacific, which is owned by a bunch of guys that and a few females that have grown up together in the casino industry. But there's 5 of them that are creating these huge casinos all over the country. So they have since sold to Churchill Downs, which is a very large company. So, but in the beginning, it was still fairly family owned and operated. So I did have a glimpse into how sometimes family owned operated businesses can operate versus the turning stone of it all, which is a massive operation. Uh, but I do enjoy seeing how they look into things and how every decision they make, they're making it thinking of the next generation and even the next generation after that, which actually is a cornerstone, a turning stone as well. The Oneidas, really everything they do is for the 7th generation. So thinking, making decisions that are going to impact people that you've never met potentially or that don't even exist yet is a very interesting way of looking at things in business versus just looking at how to end your fiscal year properly or on a high note. It's more, hey, how can we make sure that this is going to be something that the next generation and the generation after that is going to want to and enjoy being a part of, and that will also hopefully be successful for them and just help to grow the family's legacies and what they're hoping to be known for and a mainstay in the community. So I think that form of strategic thinking is just very different than typical corporate America, which I enjoy because that's where the decision making really um, grows in a different way, and your brainstorming kind of works in a different way. How you market it can affect how you want to portray that vision a little as you look towards, maybe it's more of a community angle to really push forward that this family is here to stay and this is their next big thing. So, keep an eye out and follow along.
Yeah, it's like very big picture. It like that thinking like that forces you to go big or go home,
Right,
honestly. And
right.
if you're only ever worried about the bottom line, just imagine how what your decision making looks like. I mean, it's very short-sighted. So that's a great strategy, honestly. I had no idea about the people that own Del Lago. There's 5 of them that all have basically the same mission. I can only imagine the growth that they've seen.
And the Wilmot family has continued in the gaming space as well. And Delago was sort of one of their first major steps into the gaming world. So it was a learning opportunity for them, as well as a new partnership for P2E, Peninsula Pacific. Whereas Peninsula Pacific, I mean, these guys have been working in gaming for 20, 30 plus years. I'll stop there. I won't age them out. But they've been working in gaming forever and they know gaming like the back of their hands. They're very smart and very intelligent when it comes to strategizing for casino industry growth. So it was a very interesting and great. Speaking of partnerships, it was a great partnership to really launch something new in a very competitive state for gaming. So, uh, you know, now Feldmeier Myers Creek, very different world, but they also think very strategically in every decision they make and how it'll impact, the future of not only the bottom line that year, but the company as a whole to sustain their growth and everything for much longer periods of time.
Well, let's talk about fun campaigns that you guys have done.
Myers, it's honestly everything the team does is super fun and everything. They're always game for whatever crazy idea we throw at them. Um, the biggest one for sure is Myers Creek Sucks. So the long and short of it is a website was created called meyerscreeksucks.com. And all that was really on it was the top says, I think we all can agree Myers Creek sucks. And here's better breweries in the town. And it listed a bunch of breweries, which are amazing breweries. So couldn't argue with the statement because they're all great breweries that were listed. So they brought it to our attention and surely everyone was pretty upset by it and they're like, what's going on? Who would do this? All that sort of thing. And I'm like, well, maybe we do. It's okay. So no one's perfect. Everyone has the moment where they suck. So we took that and we created a beer called Meier's Creek Sucks. We registered it and had it on tap. And we reached out to David's Refuge. We've done some work with them before and said, hey, we're going to sell this beer. It's going to be a limited release beer. And we want to donate part of the proceeds of the sale to David's Refuge. And we're going to match it even. So they were on board with the campaign since it was not a, it was a little different of a campaign. I just wanted to make sure they were okay with being part of it, but they were game. Our partners at the Lab Creative helped us with some of the development of the look and the branding and releasing it. And we did a really fun video and it went a little viral.
It went viral.
And it did the trick. And whoever created the site did take it down and we heard nothing more of it. We sold out of the beer pretty quickly and we were able to donate over $1,000 to David's Refuge, all in the same token. So, sometimes you got to take a negative and really just kind of turn it into something that's going to be a positive. And we didn't want to just make it about us. We wanted it to benefit the community a little bit too. So we thought the whole thing was a no-brainer and we had fun doing it, honestly. So sometimes, people have a little too much time on their hands. They try to come at someone. So we really wanted to make it something that
was positive.
Just like exactly
made light of it,
Yeah, it was not a.
It was a great idea. I mean, that was a great strategy.
Yeah, we didn't want to, point any fingers. We didn't want to do anything where we were doing anything but taking something that somebody I'm sure felt was an important message that they wanted to put out. So we wanted to put out an even more important message that, hey, no one's perfect. Sometimes you suck, and let's do something about it and turn it into something that can benefit, a great nonprofit. So.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of that, nobody loses. So
I don't think so. No,
you're amazing at what you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What are some other like crisis management issues that you've had to deal with in your career?
Yeah, so I mean, gaming, there's always a crisis. It doesn't matter what time of
Lawsuits
year,
after
day. Yeah, there's always a crisis. In the beginning of Del Lago's inception was an interesting time in my career where it was very volatile from a expectation standpoint, from what was stated before it opened to how it performed its first year. The team I think did a great job of making the first year of Del Lago very successful. It's not what everyone was expecting. They were expecting a bigger blowout and success. So there was a lot of negative press, a lot of sound bites that were grabbed from various Albany press events and everything like that. So, we immediately obviously had to go into crisis mode where we had a lot of people fighting for us and we had a lot of people fighting against us. So, our team really got together and just plotted out all the different scenarios that could happen. A lot of them did happen, and really tried to curtail that message. So we did take the community angle as well there, where our revenue goals weren't hit from day one. Obviously they're doing much, much better now. As any business in their first year, it takes a little while to ramp up. So at our first year celebration, we had some really bad news from, Moody's agency, trying to say that our debts and everything else weren't great. So that really kind of hurt all the positive narratives we were putting forth. So we did put together a community event where we brought all of our partners in that helped us get to year one. And we did a nice event for them, thanking them, really kind of putting the focus on all the community partners in the Finger Lakes and beyond that really helped Del Lago become a reality in general. Really, but also just, hey, let's focus on what we've done so far and what we're looking forward towards in the future. And it was really future growth oriented and focus versus on, hey, we didn't hit what we needed to in the first year. Just watch us grow. Watch us fix that. Watch us what we have coming up next. And it certainly helped a little, but it took a lot of time and a lot of crisis management to keep pushing that message across and reassuring not only the employees, the guests, everyone else that Delago's here to stay. It's here for the long haul. And they've, even since my departure, they continue to push that narrative and have really grown and become a place where guests are very loyal and love to go and game. And it's a beautiful facility, amazing concerts, gorgeous hotel. And it just took a little while. And I think a lot of people forget that, day two, day three is never going to be 100%. Sometimes it takes a little more of a ramp up than anticipated. So
It's common knowledge that most businesses don't become profitable until about 3 years in, right? But I'm sure, especially if there's a lot of investors involved and partners involved, there needs to be that little bit of reassurance that we give them. But from a public standpoint, I almost think that hosting that event, you were able to kind of reposition yourself alongside all of these trusted organizations, almost creating like a sort of allyship.
exactly. And it was a big endeavor to really, and the Finger Lakes partners that Delago has have always been very, very pro casino, pro their mission. And they were ready to say, yes, we're here to back you guys and show all the good you've done in the community. The town of Tyre hasn't paid, I think their income taxes are $0 every year now. And it's been that way for a few years because of the revenue and the taxes that the casino does pay back to the community. So there are huge benefits to it being there. Again, gaming is just a very controversial subject for a lot of folks. Some people love it, a lot of people hate it. So it was a rough road leading right up to, and gaming didn't take off as the state had hoped, not only for Delago but for all of the properties. So I think all casinos that year that were newly opened felt a very similar uh, tide, that it was just a very rough road to combat the negative publicity that everyone was getting. But now I think that everyone sees what the positives are and how they handle themselves, how they put a huge focus on problem gambling to show, hey, this is not here to ruin anyone. We want to have people come, play safely, play responsibly. And, we're here to be part of the community, part of the fabric of the community, not the only focus here. So they work a lot with the chamber and other local organizations as well to continue that narrative. So it is, again, being a really good community steward was a huge, huge, huge focus during that time.
You've been in the game for a while, and as you know, marketing, advertising has changed immensely, especially with, the introduction of AI. What advice would you give to young professionals starting out in marketing right now?
Hit the ground running, get any experience you can. And that's how I started my career. I always take with me what my advisor at SUNY Plattsburgh, Jonathan Slater, greatest advisor ever, always used to say to me, he's like, it's going to be a tough road. He's like, marketing and advertising and public relations are not easy fields. Everyone thinks it's very, fun and energetic, like you were saying. He's like, what you need to do, you need to get in some place where you feel you're going to learn and work harder than everyone next to you, and just take in everything you can and figure out where your next step is or where you want to go with it. He's like, because if you're not, someone next to you is going to. Um, and I took that for a while in my career of, just soak in anything I can. Starting off with the graphic design team, again, had zero graphic design knowledge. So I would bug any graphic designer willing to give me any time. Hey, could you show me Photoshop? Could you show me? Because all of that when I first started was not new, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now, where everyone has editing software.
And now there's Canva.
Yeah, and now there's Canva. Right, exactly. So going back to Professor Slater's advice of just soak in as much knowledge, ask questions, um, because your education is just the beginning. You're if you're getting a degree in marketing, or if you're starting out in marketing, that's step one. 90% of what you're going to use day to day, you're going to learn in the fields, and just ask a lot of questions and really just be willing to learn anything and everything anyone's willing to put in front of you. Um, and don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to just start. If you see a new app or you see a new program coming up, just download it and start trying to learn it. Continue education. I mean, AI is here, and it's the future, and you need to know it. It's gonna be taking over, especially marketing and how marketers use your daily things. Social media is not just the pinnacle of advertising anymore. There's so many little pieces, and it's a lot. There's a lot of things that you kind of have to know at least a little bit about. So that's sort of the crux of marketing. As it changes rapidly, it changes a lot. How I would advertise 10 years ago to how I advertise now, night and day.
Yeah.
100%.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is the beauty of marketing and advertising. It's just ever changing. So there's always going to be something to learn.
Right.
So if you're not interested in staying curious, if you're not a very inquisitive type of person, if you don't like to try new things, then this might not be the industry for you.
Yeah, you
But
cannot be you have to be comfortable with some change and with newness and things that could be very tough to learn, and some things that are going to be very easy to learn, and balancing all of them together. So
how are you using AI right now?
it's still in its infancy for what I'm using, but it's becoming more and more prevalent for, especially the digital side of things, of trying to use it towards finding new audiences and finding what the new trends are, um, and keeping up with how fast it changes. So that's really my first insight into it, is how can I use it to find new audiences and find it to grow my audiences. Um, and on the manufacturing side, it's still in its infancy there for sure. So it's still growing there, but from the brewery side, it's really just keeping track of audiences and trends and how I can use it to find those people and find those trends.
That's really interesting. I've never used it for something like that, although I probably should. I just I love to just get the ball rolling with it, use it for idea generation.
Absolutely. Oh, we use it every day for idea
Yeah.
generation. Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
especially when you have decision fatigue as a leader and you're like, "Crap, I have to do the content calendar for next month." And it's like, let's just pull up ChatGPT right now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, that is a daily. And honestly, we use it so much for that. It doesn't even like register as like a new thing for us. It's just we can come up with 20 ideas and we don't like any of them. And then ChatGPT can come up with one and we're like, well, that's it.
Yeah, and you know what, even as like a small business owner
Mm-hmm.
or just like an entrepreneur that is literally learning as she goes. I don't have a formal background in anything that I'm doing, so like I truly don't even know what it looks like to build what I'm trying to build. So sometimes I'm just like, what is the standard operating process for this thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I know I need to do this, but I don't know how much time I need to manage for to get this done. Like it's a lot to navigate, but I will say that I don't think I would have been able to make as much progress as I have this year alone if I didn't start using AI like heavily.
Yeah. And honestly, there's things that you can inquire with AI that I don't think people think of. It's so robust now that, I mean, again, like I'll ask it stats and trends, and I'll always cross check them to make sure like things are accurate. But, it's another tool that I use for, is this something that am I the only one thinking of this? Is there something else that I'm not thinking of? So yeah, I think it does. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it all kind of goes back to idea generation in general.
Mhm.
And is it a good idea?
Yeah, yeah.
That's testing though. You have to test it out.
And one more thing, I think one of the hardest parts of even just just being in business in general is communication and like HR things.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'm like, hey, I need to have this conversation. I basically don't trust myself to have it off the cuff, so I need to
Right.
come in prepared.
Right.
And it's almost like a kind of like a mentor in a way, if you know how to talk to it.
Exactly. It's knowing, and that's the thing. I will ask the same question to it 4 different ways and see what different answers I can get. And I'll get a different answer every single time. And it helps you think differently. It helps you think of, what am I why did this answer come up for this question but not this question? And yeah, there's so many approaches you can take, especially from like an HR perspective. That's an interesting one. I like that.
Yeah. And you can always say, oh no, that's too direct. I want to sound a little bit,
Right,
softer or
right.
whatever, and it can change that for you.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think sometimes, we don't know how to address situations if we've never been in them. And if you don't have the tools in your tool belt, if you don't have that go-to line that you say to diffuse a conflict, like we don't all have I don't have, 20 years of leadership experience on me. I know a bunch of people that do and I look up to them, but I'm not there yet. So,
Well, and sometimes people just difficult conversations, especially from like an HR perspective, are just tough to navigate. And that's a very specific set of skills in general where um, you know, everyone will do it when they have to, but having the right perception and how you word it is very crucial and critical
mhm.
from many standpoints. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great way to look at it and navigate that.
Yeah, and I think if you are someone that is in a leadership position, but maybe you're an empath and conflict makes you anxious and you may or may not be going into fight or flight
Yeah.
as soon as you enter into one. It's like, if you're going into a meeting, you have to have a tough conversation. You want it to run as effectively and smoothly as possible. Don't be afraid to use AI. Write a script, practice it in the mirror, learn how to regulate your nervous system while you're having that conversation. And that's been huge for me personally because I do I just don't like conflict. I'm not good at that. But you can't lead without
No,
being able to
it's
deal with it.
unfortunate side effect of being a leader, but yeah, it usually you get much more comfortable with it over time, but just in general, it's just uncomfortable no matter how you look at it. So, for sure.
So what is next for Feldmeier or Myers Creek? Are you guys looking forward to anything in 2025?
Oh gosh, yeah. So Myers Creek, we've got a lot of growth coming. So we've got a lot of initiatives brewing, for lack of a better word. For Myers Creek, we've got some great partnerships that are growing. A big one that I haven't mentioned is with Lemoyne College. We have released 2 beers with them now, and their team is amazing that we work with. It's a student led initiative where one of their marketing professors, Professor Margie Irlan, brings in a class of students and they work with us on capturing data from their constituents, whether it's, the parents or alumni on their preferences. And they do a whole research project. And then we base the beer and the label off of all of that. And the students design the label, they choose the name, they help develop the marketing of it all. So that partnership is still ongoing, and we'll have some new things in 2025 for that. Um, Again, our partnership with SU Football NIL. That's a big one. We just released a Shirley Temple, Coach Fran's Shirley Temple. That's his favorite drink. So yeah,
Really?
so we've
I love
got that
that.
available right now. It's a mocktail, so we've got it's a NA version for folks.
Real men drink Shirley
They,
Temples.
I mean, if Coach Fran drinks it for sure. And we have a new chef that's joined us on board. We have some new menu releases coming out next week. So yeah, we have just a lot for Myers Creek. I mean, they do not slow down. New beers, new product lines, new menus, and hopefully some new locations coming up soon as well. So a lot of growth there. With Feldmeier, we're just continuing to grow year over year. I've never seen a company like that just exponentially every year, have great growth. We've got some great community driven things going on right now, where one of the big ones is one of our customers is Fairlife, and they are building a large facility outside of Rochester, New York. And part of the deal was they donated to us 20,000 bottles of their Core Power protein drink, and we've been donating them to local high school athletics teams. So we donated 5,000 bottles to the Syracuse City School District, as well as a couple thousand to Liverpool. And we're still working on distributing all these bottles to the community. So that's been a really fun initiative. As well as just this last 2 weeks, we Feldmeier, Myers Creek, and SU Football NAL, we all pulled together and we gave away 400 tickets to the game to Syracuse City School District to attend the game. So again, a lot of community initiatives coming up for us. And just Feldmeier, it's just continuing to grow. We have a huge expansion that is, you can see it from the thruway, pretty large, where we're expanding our headquarters. Another, I don't know the square footage off the top of my head, but we have a huge expansion that should be opening up in 2025, as well as some new development at some of our other facilities throughout the country as well. Lots of new tools of the trade, a lot of new training opportunities, and initiatives with our trusted partners, Macne. So just a lot of things moving. So a lot of exciting stuff for both companies, and again, just a lot of growth, which is amazing. So some of them I'm really proud to be on sort of the ground floor of, but also really proud to be part of this huge history that Feldmeier has and see it continue to develop.
There's a lot going on for you. So I'm curious, what do you like to do just for you? How do you like to celebrate all this success that's going on?
I've got a great family that, we're crazy Italian, so we love to hang out and just be loud together. Um, love to hang out with family, love to travel. Hopefully some good trips coming up in 2025 that I've yet to plan, but working on. Love to travel, love to hang out with family, friends. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Nothing too crazy. So,
Where are you hoping to travel in 2025?
oh gosh, the big trip that we're working on right now is Vietnam potentially.
Ooh.
So yeah, we have some friends that are amazing travel buddies that I can't lie, they plan it. They say, "Hey, did you book your ticket yet?" And I ride their coattails the whole
Yep.
time.
That's what
So
you need.
they're 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 very seasoned in the travel world, and I am not. So I love to just, where are we going? And I follow them, and they're a lot of fun. A lot of
Yeah.
fun to travel with. So
Especially when you have your hands in so many different projects. It's important not to forget to schedule the vacation.
exactly.
I have a girlfriend who is definitely, you know, taking the reins on our girls' trip this
Good.
coming March. So we're gonna be going to Sedona,
Oh, beautiful.
doing a nice, wellness trip.
It's the perfect
Should be nice and
location.
grounding.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely need a vacation soon.
Yes. Yeah, your growth has been exponential as well. So yeah, well deserved for sure.
Thank you so much. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much, Crystal, for joining me.
Thank you for
for the
having me. This
podcast.
has been so much fun.
I'd love to grab a coffee soon and just keep talking to you because
Anytime.
so much to learn.
You can catch me at Cafe Blue.
All right, guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you left us a review and make sure you're subscribed to the show. Speaking of the show, if you know anyone or if you are interested in being our next guest on Cultivate CNY, be sure to submit us an application. You can just click the link in the show notes. And if you're a business owner that's interested in getting in front of our audience, you can go ahead and email us at podcast@cnywomensnetwork.com to learn more about sponsorship and advertising opportunities. All right, that's it for now. I'll catch you guys next Monday. Thank you.